have you seen her? And I went, who are you talking about? And they said, have you seen Lady Justice? Fan Expo 2025 is in the books already, which means it's the end of summer, basically. It's sad to think about, but we are here to talk about the fun that we all had over the weekend. Let me give you guys a little bit of background because there are probably people in the chat and watching this at some point who don't know my background. I have been going to Fan Expo Canada for the past 16 years. This is my 16th anniversary of going to Fan Expo Canada. I started in 2009. That was my first Comic-Con ever. A bunch of buddies and I went to Toronto when it was just the South Building, and we went to see the Chin Bruce Campbell. It was a mind-blowing moment for me because I had grown up being kind of the only nerd. I had some wrestling friends, but I never really talked about my comic stuff until I met my buddies, Tom and Gavin. And when we went to Fan Expo, there were thousands upon thousands of people in one place, all with similar interests. And I said it when I walked on the South Building floor, and I say it every single time I step foot on the South Building floor. I'm home because I truly feel like I'm at home, I'm safe, I'm at peace at Fan Expo Canada because I am surrounded by like-minded individuals. Some people might like anime, some people might like comics, some people might like sci-fi or whatever, but we all have this collective love for geek, nerd, pop culture, and I never in a million years would have thought that there were that many people who would get together and celebrate the arts, and it is incredible every single year. So there is a little bit of bias in how much I love this convention because I know there's some people who are getting very sick of Fan Expo Canada. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to talk about the highlights. Also, the thing that I do every single year and has been kind of my main thing for the past probably 5 years, if not more, was Fan Expo. Or Fan Expo. Wow, fail. Cosplay. Cosplay is my main thing for going there. I used to go for comic books. I used to go for the exhibitors, the celebrities and all that. But because I've been going for 16 years and I also volunteer at several cons throughout the year, I am just encapsulated with these things over and over and over again. So I don't need to see all the vendors. I don't need to see all the celebrities because the ones that I have met are the ones I've wanted to meet. Anyone new, it's very rare that I'm interested in meeting celebrities. So cosplay is my main focus. So that is going to play a factor in what we talk about tonight because I did not visit every single booth, even though I was there all weekend. I did not see every inch of the con in fine detail because I had a giant skull on my head for half of it, and I also was throwing cards in the other half. So we're going to do a breakdown day by day, and I'm going to go through what I did each day and give you an idea of what I saw, what I liked, what I didn't. And at the end, we're going to go through what I think Fan Expo should do better and what they should keep because it worked. And I feel good doing this because I have heard rumors that some people in Expo have watched this show before from past reviews. Whether they take anything I say to heart, whether they take, actually believe that that's the truth, I don't know. But I have heard rumors that some people at Expo have watched the show. So I feel good talking about it. And especially because I have seen the con evolve for 16 years, that I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the changes, and we're going to talk all about that. Everyone is talking in chat. We've got Brian saying, what did you think of them getting rid of the audience Q&A portion and doing the Fan Expo submitted questions? I heard about that. I'm not really gonna dive into the Q&A part because I did not go to any Q&As, but I did see people online talking about the Q&A portion and the Fan Expo submitted questions. I'm actually okay with that because in the past when I have gone to Q&As, there's sadly been the same, what I call the Google questions, and I learned that term from going to the Metallica show. The guy who was heading the Q&A with us, with Lars and Rob, brought this up, and boy, did it hit me. There are a lot of people who asked Googleable questions, like going to Stan Lee and saying, like, what's your favorite superhero? you can Google that. Like, that is not a question I feel like we should be asking at Comic-Con. So having the fan submitted questions is really good because I feel like they can kind of get to the good questions that I feel would get a good reaction from the crowd, get a good response from the celebrities. And I feel it makes the Q&As a little better than just, no offense, 7 kids walking up and asking questions that everyone knows already. Crystal said, I'm sad this year I didn't get stopped every 5 steps for photos, but that means I got to do more recognizable things. I think you got stopped once for a very important thing, and I'm not going to talk about it here because it's not my thing to talk about. But if you hop over to Pretty Nerdy Crystal's social media, you'll see what I'm talking about. She got stopped once. That was a very important stop. So I don't think you should be beating yourself up for how your cosplay went and how much you got stopped or not. Let's jump into day 1, folks. This was the Thursday. Oh, by the way, I did get the Ultimate Pass. If you were wondering, every year I get the Ultimate Pass. The Premium is what it used to be called. It is a 4-day pass. It is the second highest level. It costs around 169 Canadian. I get in early. I get a bag of goodies, and that's about it. And that's the big one. The big one is the getting in early and getting to the front of the line in entry and not having to wait outside. That is the big thing. So that will play a factor because if you got a day pass or something like that, you're going to have a little bit less of these things than I did. So day 1, I arrived at 1:30. I was staying at the Intercontinental, which is the hotel attached to the North Building of Fan Expo. I checked in and I hit the floor running. The one thing I did notice was I went straight to the South Building. That is tradition for me to go shopping because the South Building of Fan Expo, by the way, let me stop for a second. If you don't know Fan Expo Canada in detail, it is split into 2 buildings. There is the North Building, which is traditionally where all the celebrities are. There is some vendor stuff. The below floor of that has where the cosplayers hang out. And then the South Building basically is your big vendor artist alley area. So that's how you'll know when I talk about North and South Building, you'll kind of get an idea of where I am. So I usually go down to the South Building because that is the shopping. And that is where I'm a shopping guy on Thursday. I do not cosplay. I get all my shopping done because it is the slowest day and it is the best day to find things first and not wait until the last day and possibly miss out. The one thing that caught me right off the bat was last year when I got down there, I was around 1:30, same time, and I remember waiting in a very long line to get my premium, my ultimate package, whatever it is, the bag with all the extra goodies in it. I remember waiting in a very long line that went into the room to pick up the bag, and then we went back down and lined up to go out. When I hit the bottom of the escalators in the South Building, I walked straight into that room, grabbed my bag, and walked out, which kind of surprised me because that meant there was a lot less people waiting to get in the South Building. That could mean more were waiting in the North Building for a specific celebrity. I can't remember if there was anybody exclusive on the Thursday, but it just caught my eye that I wasn't waiting in a stupid long line to pick up a bag. Waited for a little bit and the doors open and I hit that floor running. Now, I usually have a sort of guide of where I'm going to go. Traditionally, the Fan Expo floor is pretty much the same every year now. The big vendors are around the back. The normal vendors, the stores and stuff are in the middle. And the far side is all of the artist alley. I traditionally like to go to the big vendors first. I used to go to the small vendors and go to BMV Comics or bookstore. And I used to go there because they used to have really dirt cheap graphic novels at really good discount price for a big group of them. I used to pick up like 5 for $20 and it was a great deal. However, since the pandemic, that is not a thing anymore. They just have pretty much regular price stuff, which sucks because that means I don't get to buy as many graphic novels. So I've now decided to go to the main vendor area because the main booth, the Paramount booth, the Nintendo booth, Bell, and all that stuff, that's the stuff that usually gets pretty nuts pretty fast. So I knew the Paramount, I heard rumors Paramount was going to have something big. It ended up being like a 4D ride that had splashing water and wind and stuff as you went through all their properties. I don't really care about that. The Wednesday for Netflix had a big house you could walk through. I'm not a big Addams Family fan or a Wednesday fan, so that didn't really interest me. I also saw another horror booth that you could walk through with, I think, Annabelle and stuff in it. I didn't do that because I hate doing walkthrough stuff like that. It scares the shit out of me. I'm a wuss. What I ended up doing was I ended up going to Nintendo because I am a video game fan and I do not have a Nintendo Switch, and I knew they would have something to do with the Switch too. And they did. They had a bunch of demos set up that you could play. So I ended up going there and I ended up playing Metroid, the new Metroid 3, I believe it is. I ended up playing the new Kirby, and I ended up playing the new Street Fighter 6 on Switch. All of them were really, really fun. I wanted to see if any of those games were going to convince me to get a Switch. I knew my friend who was staying with me at the hotel, she brought a Switch 2 with her that we could play later. So I knew she brought Mario Kart, and I knew pretty sure she brought Mario as well. So I didn't even think of going to those. I wanted to do other games to see if they were any good. Metroid was pretty darn fun, especially with the mouse controls on the Switch 2, which was pretty fun. Kirby was Kirby, and Street Fighter was actually pretty fun because I actually used the Pro Controller, and I've never used the Switch Pro Controller. So that was really cool, giving that a shot. Was it enough to convince me to buy a Switch 2? No, but still cool. And I got a Nintendo Switch 2 lanyard out of it, so yay. Other than that, not any big boosts. I ended up looking through the shops for some things for myself. The main thing I was looking for was I wanted to find some McFarlane DC action figures. If you've seen my social media, you know that I love Green Lantern, and I'm trying to get all of the Green Lanterns from that series. I have a bunch of them. I'm still missing Guy Gardner, Batman, the 2-pack with Kilowog and Kyle Rayner, and Jade, I believe. Yeah, those 4. So I was looking for those. However, I did notice after hitting a few booths, the prices were pretty meh, to say the least. There was one booth that had some McFarlanes on dirt cheap, but none of the ones I wanted. But overall, everything was kind of meh priced, and I have a feeling it has to do with the tariff situation and the transportation and all that. So didn't really get anything from the vendor area, except I did find a couple cheap graphic novels, which I was very happy about. I ended up picking up Green Lantern Earth Volume 2, Earth 1 Volume 2, because I still need to get Volume 1, but I saw that as a cheap enough price that I didn't mind buying the second one first. I ended up getting Wolverine Origin because this was a huge book back when I first started reading comics. And I was happy to find a Dan Slott compilation collection of She-Hulk, which I've always been a big fan of the She-Hulk character. So that's kind of the big purchases I made. The only other stuff I picked up was Artist Alley stuff. And Artist Alley is usually a place that I look through every year and I never buy anything because I don't really need a lot of that stuff. When it comes to prints and stuff, the artists in Artist Alley are incredible. I've seen so many amazing artists in that giant plethora of artists, but I have a problem in my house. And that thing is, I don't have wall space. That wall behind me where I shoot my cosplay photos is the cleanest wall in the entire house. We have prints and memories and everything else all over. Right on the other side of this camera are my 3 Metallica posters, and it pretty much takes up the whole wall. I don't have wall space, so I don't buy prints, so I kind of just avoid Artist Alley. However, this year was different. This year, they got Artist Alley bigger. How did they do that? Well, they took out some seating. In the Artist Alley, it's usually a long rectangle shape, and usually they have a little bit of seating next to it because there's usually some food vendors underneath. Well, they got rid of the seating and added more artists, which, when everyone saw the map, had a fit. And I understand why. If you have mobility issues, that was a great place to sit down. However, they took it away. And honestly, when I looked around for seating, there wasn't a lot. So if you had mobility issues, that was a problem. I completely understand. However, I bought more stuff from Artist Alley this year than I have in years, and most of it was from that new section. So Is it a problem if you paid for that end cap that you thought you'd had for years and years and years and they've now added? I completely understand your frustration because they didn't supposedly tell any of you guys and stuff was added. Is having no seating a problem? 100%. However, I gotta admit, I probably spent over $100 on little things from Artist Alley. And like I said, most of it was from that new section from those new artists. An example being a booth that is his main focus was Resident Evil. And I picked up this little Welcome Leon banner, which if you know the Resident Evil 2 game, which is my favorite game, this is the banner they leave for Leon at the Raccoon Police Station because it's his first day on the job. So when I saw that, I was like, that is pretty damn cool. And such a little inside joke, I had to buy it. Let's see, what do we got here? We got some people talking in chat. We got Pretty Nerdy Crystal saying, I bought one thing there for my work daughter. It's her birthday next week. We got fishing bait keychain, and I saw that, and it was bloody adorable. I completely agree. That was pretty cool. Freakish said, so damn crammed. I agree. And that's why I hit that Artist Alley first on Thursday when it opens. And I usually do not hit it again after, unless it's like less than an hour left in the day on Friday or Sunday. Never hitting it on a Saturday. Pretty Nerdy Crystal, my 2 cents. I don't like that there was less space to sit for disabled people and people like myself who had bad knees. Agreed. And I totally understand that. And if I was someone in that position, I would be frustrated too. I'm just not, so it didn't really affect me. But again, looking at it from other people's perspective, I get why people were pretty upset about that. So we started going through Artist Alley. I picked up some stuff and then we headed to the North building and I ended up walking past a really weird section, which a vendor in the North building had a bunch of the X-Men 97 voice actors, all there signing autographs, which was really cool that they were there. I ended up sharing a post if you're on the Fan Expo fan page on Facebook, because it was random and nobody knew about it and there was getting no traction on whoever posted it. So I shared it to the page and everyone freaked out about it. The layout was horrible and not based on them, just where their booth was, because it was pretty close to the bottleneck of trying to get to the other building. So they did great. They were always busy, but just the layout was bad when it came to, I hope Fan Expo, if they do this again and have someone do something like this, they put them somewhere else because that just made that area even worse than it normally is. Then for the first time for the first time in a while, I ended up meeting some celebrities. I went and got autographs. And I got autographs not for myself, but for my wife, because my wife is a giant Baldur's Gate fan. So 4 members of the Baldur's Gate fan or voice actors were there. So I had to go get her a couple autographs. I ended up meeting Neil Newbon again. I met him last year for my wife. She wanted another autograph, so I got that for her. I met Dave Jones, who plays the love interest that my wife likes in the game. I've never played Baldur's Gate. I have no time to play Baldur's Gate, but she said he's one of the most important. You go get him. So I made him get him. And Andrew Wincott, who I believe plays the devil or a devil-like character in the game. He was super sweet. He is what we call in the volunteer world a talker. He was a talker. And I love that if you're meeting the celebrity and you love it. However, if you're in line, it's a giant pain in the butt. And Andrew was talking to every single person, having very long conversation with them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get up there after waiting a super long time. I'm just going to have a quick conversation, say, hey, greatly appreciate what you've done. Not for me, for my wife. Thanks. Talk to you. Bye. I walk up and I start talking to him and he says, is this for you? I said, no, it's actually for my wife. And I made the joke with him, Neil, and Dave that I'm a cosplayer, and when I'm cosplaying, my wife is playing Baldur's Gate. So because you did such a good job, I get to work on my cosplay more. So I greatly appreciate it. And they all chuckled at that. But I specifically said to Andrew, I'm like, yeah, I don't really play Baldur's Gate. I'm not that type of gamer. So this is just for my wife. He then sat there and wanted to describe the whole game and what it's about and all the things you can do in it. And I'm like, I know what the game is. I just do not give a shit about it. But I sat there and listened and acted like I really cared. And I appreciate all the enthusiasm of him trying to get me to play it. But it is not my bag. I did try Baldur's Gate once. It was when I downloaded the trial on PlayStation. And it is not for me. It is way too detailed for me. I am such a boring gamer now. When I saw the Lego game was announced for the new Batman, I was like, yay, something easy to play, because I just do not have the time with cosplaying and stuff to get deep in the games. But he was such a nice guy. Actually, they all were. Neil is brilliant as always. Neil Newbon actually remembered me from last year, which shocked me. Didn't remember me exactly, but as soon as he saw my face, he's like, you look very familiar. You were here last year. And I was like, if I was a fangirl, I'd be going nuts right now. I was like, yes, my wife wanted another autograph. And he's like, oh, so nice. Tell her I said hi. And I'm like, I will. She would go nuts if she was here. So that's really cool that Neil does that. And he could be lying. I don't know. But it really made me feel good, even though I'm not a fan. But yeah, that was kind of it. Thursday, like I said, just shopping, getting the autographs and that stuff. That was a pretty normal day for me on a Thursday. Friday is when the cosplay started. Now, this was the first time I was able to walk around in Gambit. Gambit is now, I'm pretty sure, complete. I don't think I'm going to do much more upgrades to it. Maybe might tweak the mask on it, but overall it is done. This is the first time, however, I am walking around in the new trench coat. Bought the new trench coat in December, wore it to Toronto Game Expo when I was guesting, but this is the first time walking around in public. And it is hot as balls in that thing. That leather jacket from high school is cooler than that jacket for Gambit. Holy crap. I had to go back up to the hotel room every 3 hours because I was so hot and gross in that thing. However, everyone loved it. Everyone had a blast taking photos. I was so happy to see so many kids and so many people running up to me wanting to take pictures, especially when they saw the cards. The most fun story from the weekend was at the Marvel Versus booth, I think it was. It was basically a photo opportunity set up where it was sort of a corner shot and it was split in the middle. Half had Venom on it, half Spider-Man. And you could walk up with your friend and you could get like a versus pose. I wanted to go up just as Gambit. However, when I got up to the front of the line, I just turned around and there was a Wolverine behind me. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. And the person that was behind me, I'm pretty sure had some issues and was not, was very nervous, was not really wanting to make eye contact. So I thought I'd do the nice thing. And I said, hey buddy, you should come in and we should get a photo. We should do the photo together. Cause I thought that would really make his day getting, Gambit and Wolverine kind of going at each other. So I said, let's go. Come on. So we go in. And he was really cool. He was really into it, really struck some really cool poses. We did some, we were kind of back to back. I was doing the cards. He had his claws out. We did some versus ones. And as we were walking out, he was really excited, big smile on his face. And someone in line had a huge Gambit t-shirt and he saw me and it's like, oh, I need a photo with you. And I said, no problem. And as I say no problem, the guy working behind me at the booth goes, okay, type in your emails and we'll send you the photos. And I'm like, cool, let me get this quick photo and then I'll put my email in. Pose, take the photo, turn around. Wolverine has put in his email, pressed enter, closed the window, and ran off. And I'm like, crap, never going to see those photos probably. And I never did. And I never saw that Wolverine again. Because I did walk around a little more trying to find him and be like, hey, what's your email? We got the photos together. Could not find him. So I hope he loves the photos. If anyone sees a photo of the verses online and I'm in it, please let me know, because I thought they were some really cool photos. But yeah, he just booked it as soon as I turned my back. So I don't know if he was super shy and didn't want to talk or whatever, but yeah, that was the moment where I was like, damn, I really like those photos, and I thought they were kind of cool, but oh well. After that, went back to the North Building and wanted to talk to the cosplayers. I will be completely honest. This podcast, online video, me on TikTok, all those things, I have no problem being in front of a giant crowd. I am cool as a cucumber. One-on-one conversations with strangers, I hate with a passion. I am horrible one-on-one. Absolutely horrible. So, should I have gone up and talked to every one of the cosplay guests that was there? Yes. Was I scared to death to do that because I was scared to be rejected? 100%. And I have no problem admitting that. However, I did go up and talk to Gravel Road Cosplay because we had a conversation on Instagram earlier in the week. He had commented on something. We kind of went back and forth. He was talking about traveling in. Super nice guy. Super nice guy. Pretty Nerdy Crystal said Oddfell was also sweet. I agree. I'd heard some things from everybody later in the weekend, and everyone said the cosplayers were amazing. I have no doubt in it. I am just nervous as hell to talk to somebody I don't know. If you ever find me in a group, I am usually the one who is the absolute quietest until I get the feel of the room, and then I will slowly start having the conversation. After sweating like crazy in Gambit and feeling way too gross, I went back upstairs and I decided, well, I knew something fun was going to happen the next day and I needed Gambit for it. I didn't want to throw Ghost Rider on because I wanted Ghost Rider to be its own thing on Saturday and possibly Sunday. I went, this was the time I was going to take Megadeth Vic Rattlehead cosplay out for its trial run. So I threw on Megadeth. And as soon as I threw on Megadeth and walked out of my hotel room, I realized my visibility in that thing is horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was probably a 10% viewing. I could see it was absolute terrible, but I knew I had to at least give it a shot. So I took it downstairs and I did do a walk around. There was a few people who came up and took some photos with me, which I was very happy that anybody even gave a crap about it. However, walking around the North Building in the cosplay area, I did have one or two people who were excited to see me, took a photo, and then said, "Have you seen her?" And I went, "Who are you talking about?" And they said, "Have you seen Lady Justice?" And I went, "What do you mean Lady Justice?" And they said, "There is a cosplayer walking around right now who is Lady Justice from the And Justice for All album." I have rarely wanted to faint in excitement. That was one of those moments because I'm like, there's no way that I decided to wear a Megadeth cosplay and there is someone in the vicinity, not South Built, like within baseball throwing distance, wearing a Metallica cosplay. Went into the one room, and I had someone run to the door and go, "Myers, she's out here." And I ran giddy like a schoolgirl. And as soon as I saw her, I just pointed and was like, "That's incredible." And she saw me and we both marked out and freaked because it was so cool to have someone with like-minded interests. She killed it as Lady Justice. In fact, there's a small portion of me who over the years has wanted to do a gender bend version of that cosplay because it is such a cool look. We got some photos. I posted one on my stories. I've got one scheduled for tomorrow that you will see. It was so cool seeing that. That was worth being pretty much blind in that cosplay. After doing that photo, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give the South Building one more shot before Saturday because I knew Saturday was just going to be a nightmare. I went across the bridge. Everything was good. Hit the South Building. And as soon as I hit the floor, There was a lineup from the escalator to go back up to Artist Alley, which if you don't know that building is like 100 people, 150 people deep. And I'm like, nope, not dealing with this. And I turned around and walked out. I waited in that line, went back up and went back to the south building, walked around for a few more minutes, and then went and got dressed, showered, got changed, and went out for dinner that night. That was day 2. That was the only day as Gambit. My review for Gambit, I love that cosplay, and I will probably wear that cosplay again at some point. But yeah, that is such a warm jacket. I'm going to probably do a couple tweaks to it, hopefully figure out a way to cool myself down. But man, that was just it was way hotter than I thought it was going to be. Red Hudson in chat said her cosplay was so rad. Oh, it so was. It was such a fun cosplay. I was so glad to see her. Marcy said I'll look for that pic for sure. Yeah, it was so cool to see her. I cannot remember her name though. I tagged her on the post tomorrow. So if you want to see her and like her stuff, definitely do it. The Saturday. Let's get into Saturday of Fan Expo. If you've ever been to Fan Expo, you know that Saturday is the busiest day. And guess what? It wasn't much different. As I said, I wanted to have Gambit ready for Saturday morning because we were doing something really, really cool. And that was a bunch of us got together and did a photo shoot. We had a friend of ours get a X23. I cannot remember the actress's name, even though I was said it about a billion times. She was there, who plays X23 in Deadpool and Wolverine and Logan. And we got a photo op. It was one of us was dressed as X23. One of us was dressed as Deadpool, who brought the adamantium Wolverine. One of us was dressed as Blade and myself as Gambit, all in the photo op. Daphne Keene, thank you very much. And we all got together and got the photo op with her, and it was an absolute blast. The photo turned out incredible. It again will be in. I was tagged in it, but I will be posting it also tomorrow. So cool, such a fun photo op. Everyone was in line, was smiling, knowing it was happening, and yeah, it turned out really, really fun. So after that photo shoot, I was ready to throw on Ghost Rider, and this is the newest and probably final version of Ghost Rider. When I say I got so much attention in Ghost Rider and so many compliments from people, I was surprised. And not just people thinking it's a cool cosplay, so many people coming up to me and saying that the first version of Ghost Rider was great, but this one's better. That made me feel really good, especially when I was happy with the head, but I also was just like, I don't know, it looks so similar to the other one, and I changed the spikes, but I don't know. But I had a bunch of people come up and tell me that this was a way better version, so that makes me feel really good. I know with this version, now that I'm very happy with it, I'm going to look for someone who has a motorcycle, and I do want to try and get a photo shoot with me on a bike, because I feel like that is the only thing missing from my photo shoot with Tyrone Islington is I don't have a motorcycle in it. And I feel like that would just be the cherry on top. For the most part, I did stay in the North building. I was hanging around with Pretty Nerdy Crystal, and Noah showed up, which was really cool to see him. Just hanging out, getting some photos, getting some, pressing the flesh, all that fun stuff. Lots of people wanting photos with Ghost Rider. I do want to say that I do feel some empathy to the cosplay guests. I shouldn't say a lot. I believe there was about half of the cosplay guests were flown in from the States. And I know there are some cosplayers out there who are local who feel like that kind of limited their chances of getting selected to be a guest at Fan Expo Canada. The biggest thing I feel bad for is I feel like some of those cosplayers, because they were flown up, didn't really have the chance to showcase all of their stuff. I know a few of them did have I know one of them had big wings behind their booth, but I felt like the showcase portion of the booth was kind of lacking. And that's not anything against them. I just feel like some of them probably were hindered by, I don't want to, even in the best of travel times, I don't want to bring all my cosplay stuff with me on a plane, let alone when we're having trouble with Air Canada at the time. I don't want to take that chance of something going missing, something being broken or something like that. So I do feel bad they did not have the chance to showcase as much as they possibly could, because I've seen all of their stuff on social media and some of them do incredible work. And I just feel like if you weren't a hardcore cosplay fan like I am and other cosplayers, the general public, I feel like, didn't get to see as much as they should have. So again, nothing against the guests. I just feel like they didn't have the opportunity. Then I went to the South because I'm a crazy person. I wanted to go to the South, and I know people don't like doing that trek from North to South building and South to North building on Saturdays. I always go outside, and I know it's hot outside, but honestly, I can usually get there quicker than getting bottlenecked on that stupid bridge on the middle of Saturday. So went outside, sweat a little bit. Again, crazy line to get up the escalators, but I decided, let's take a walk. Let's go see what, maybe I can get some photos and stuff down here. And I got a few people interested in my stuff, but more in the North building. And then I decided to head back up for the masquerade and get ready to get changed. However, I got changed way quicker than I expected. I was honestly thinking I was going to go back to my hotel room and have a nap and get ready for the masquerade and get ready for dinner that night with the friends. But I went up there and was still kind of wired. So I got dressed, showered, then got dressed. And then I went back to the South building actually and was in the Hasbro booth getting the 360 camera, which if you turned in early, you notice that I have a new intro to the podcast, and that played a factor in me making a new intro for the podcast. I did that late last night because I just saw how cool that video looked of just me in street clothes, and I was like, I'm going to use that for a new intro because I've been wanting to do one for a little while. So hopped over to the Hasbro booth, did one final check to see if anything had dropped in price. Not really. Everything was still kind of standard price. So I headed back up to the masquerade for the Masters of Cosplay contest. Now, if you are a fan of this podcast, if you know me at all, you know that I have participated in the cosplay contest at Fan Expo, I believe 7 times. I've competed in almost 10 cosplay contests. And we started in 2010 at Fan Expo. And my last time competing was this March at Anime North, where I did my Gambit cosplay and I won Best Journeyman Stage. I have a lot of feelings about cosplay contests because I've competed in so many and I've seen the evolution of Fan Expos, and I now see how the Anime North one is run. The big difference for those who don't know, Fan Expo is kind of its own little thing. Anime North specifically is sanctioned under the International Cosplay Guild, which means there are a bunch of regulations that certain awards that are won at Anime North are kind of valued in the cosplay world at other cons as an equal. So what I'm about to say has nothing to do with the cosplayers, has nothing to do with the judges, has nothing to do with the host. It is absolutely to do with Fan Expo Canada, because I don't know how the other ones are run. I don't know how Chicago, Dallas, MegaCon, and all that. This is simply directed at Fan Expo Canada and no one else. Their masquerade is one of the worst I've ever been to. And that is mainly because the amount of bank that con makes and the amount of the lack of things they put into that cosplay contest is astounding to me, especially because with the less amount of money that they used to have, they did more with it. When I started going to Fan Expo, up until around 2018, when Informa purchased it and that sort of became Fan Expo, kind of took over the world in the Comic-Con world. At the cosplay contest, there was around 70 entrants. You were allowed to bring your own music or whatever audio track that was at most a minute long, and you were able to do a full performance at the con or at the cosplay contest. Now, if you are a cosplayer and you get selected, you have a host on stage who reads whatever you gave them, and you strike 3 poses and walk off. The entire cosplay contest itself took 45 minutes. I'm sorry, that is not enough time to showcase those cosplays in the way they should be. I understand some people don't want to do performances. I get it. You don't have to. But not allowing those people to showcase those cosplays in the best way they can, I feel is a little slap in the face. I literally was sitting there with some friends and I said, it started at 7, and I said, I got dinner reservations with friends at 8. I can be a little late, but I do not want to be stupid late. I was able to make it to the restaurant before they ordered drinks, which I was not expecting. When it comes to the people on stage, they all rocked. Every one of them did a bang up job. The fact there was only 2, maybe 3 cosplayers who did not sew their cosplay is a little bit of a frustration for me, mainly because I don't sew, and I know there are some people in my life who are wanting to do cosplay and wanting to start with foam, and seeing that they're not able, they probably don't feel like they can get on stage now because everyone sews. That was a little bit of upsetting to me. The new host, they had a new host this year. I think he did a fine job. A little bit, though, I don't feel like he was able to give the individual contestants their moment to shine. I felt like he was kind of rushing. And if I have any idea of how the back end is usually run with this con, he probably was rushed. Overall, I'm just always frustrated with this con when it comes to their cosplay contest, mostly because at a con like Anime North, that con has like 80 contestants. You get to do the full performance if you want. You don't have to. And they have a shite ton of awards and a shite ton specifically for novice cosplayers to get them motivated to keep cosplaying. This one kind of just has novice, journeyman, master, and judges awards, and one other one. I think that's the fan one this year. Anime North, almost pretty much half of the novices will get awards just to get them motivated to keep going. I'm not, I work Anime North. I have cosplayed at Anime North, and I know I don't want to feel like I'm just kissing their butt because they do a great job. Like, they really do a great job, and you really feel appreciated as a cosplayer, and you feel like part of the show when you're a cosplayer there. I feel like Fan Expo, as some people have said in chat, I feel like their main thing now is kind of about making money, and the cosplay, especially the Masters of Cosplay, is sort of a second rate thing to them. They don't really care because it's not making them money, which it was kind of frustrating. Again, I don't want to sit here and bang on it for the next half hour because I've done it in past as well. And by the way, I will compete at this Masters of Cosplay again if I get accepted. I'm not saying I'm never going to do it. It is still the biggest cosplay contest in the country, and there's more people there's almost as well. I was about to say there's more people at that one than anyone else. Anime North sells out their room. Fan Expo doesn't. But I will be at the con again if I have a homemade costume. It honestly, I'm not lying. I was waiting in line, and as I was walking into the building or into the room, someone stopped me and asked me why I wasn't a part of this wasn't a part of the cosplay contest, which made me feel really good. Freakish Workshop in chat says, but this con doesn't want to encourage cosplayers. They want the prestige of handing out an award that is recognized across the US. That's my 2 cents. And you know what? You might be right. You really might be right. They like the prestige of that award going, and if you win this contest, you get brought down to MegaCon, and you're competing against other winners from other cosplay contests. And I get that. I just feel like there was a great analogy is when I was really starting to get into cosplay, but I really wasn't cosplaying. I went to a panel that one of the cosplayers was doing. Actually, it was a couple cosplayers. I won't name their names. But when I went to the panel, they honestly felt like they were talking about techniques that 1% of the people would ever attempt or try. And this was not oh my God, this is like top tier cost. This was just a cosplay panel. And I feel like Expo is very much like that, where they feel like they feel it's a prestigious event and this is a prestigious thing to have. Okay, I'm glad you do. I just don't feel the love for cosplay at this con like they used to. And that's frustrating, especially with, having the technology to easily upload a whole bunch of audio tracks to do a performance. They have a big video screen behind it. At other big conventions, people will do audio and video. So you have like a video backdrop while you're doing your performance. I just feel like there's so much potential to make this such a big contest and sell out that room like they used to. And I just feel like they don't care. Plain and simple. I just don't feel like they care. And yeah, sorry, Fan Expo. I love you as a con, but I'm just not feeling the love as a cosplayer. I would love to, again, I don't want to say that I know best and I know the best way to run this con, but I would love to talk to somebody in the back end and understand the reasoning behind it. Like when they first moved everybody down to the North building and had them all on the same floor, like that was cosplay area, and they had the cosplay rooms and the cosplay for a cause repair shop. And I was like, okay, if you're going to make like a whole floor cosplay, okay, I can dig that. I can dig where you're like, okay, you guys need a whole floor to sort of hang out. That's cool. But then they don't promote it. There's other things around. It's sort of like a transition area, so no one really knows it's there. Like, there's just too many things that are popping up that are making me going, you can't be doing this all by accident. And again, I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I try my best in all situations to see both sides of it. It's just becoming very hard to see the other side of it. Prove me wrong, Expo. Please prove me wrong. But then we get yelled at for hanging. Yeah, I know. So again, for the cosplay contest, great. I'm glad everyone got to go on stage. You all rocked. Everybody's costume looked amazing. You all look like pros on stage. Good for you. Congratulations. I hope you all do it again. I know there was a couple people up there who was their first time. You guys look like you were pros at this. Please come back. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do next year and at other cons. So after that, that was it for the day. I went to dinner and then I went back and played some Mario Kart, which was really freaking fun on the Switch 2. I gotta admit, Mario Kart 2 or Mario Kart World on the Switch 2 is actually really fun. Going from track to track to track to track and actually like going through the tracks and not just jumping, that was pretty fun. Had a lot of fun doing that. Day 4, the end of the con, learned a valuable tip. When you have 2 totes worth of stuff, 2 bags worth of stuff, and a jacket, and you call the bellhop to help you bring that stuff down to hold for you while you go to the con and then come pick it up later, don't do it at checkout time. I was stupid and was like, at checkouts at like 11, I'm going to check out at 10:30. I'm going to ask for the bellhop. Over an hour I waited, to the point where I had to bring half of it down myself because I called them 3 times and they're like, we're just really busy. And I'm like, look, I'm just going to bring it down, make a pile near you, and you can put it away. Like, if that's the problem, I'll solve it. I got the small stuff. They came up and grabbed the big stuff. But I ended up wearing Ghost Rider a second time because of how much love I got from it. And I was super happy to wear it again. Really just hung out in the North building, had a lot of fun sitting around, talking with people, talking to some of the cosplayers that did the masquerade cosplay contest. They seemed to have a good time. They enjoyed it. They loved talking to cosplayers backstage. And folks, quick tip, if you've never done a cosplay competition and you are worried about, going on stage and all that, I get that. It is stage fright's a thing. I get it. However, sitting backstage and talking to other cosplayers about their cosplays and getting to pick their brains is the best part of doing it. 100%, it is the best. Messiah said, pro tip, pay for late checkout. I'm going to actually do the opposite. I'm going to check out early. I'm going to check out all my stuff because my friend who was with me, she was working photo ops. I'm going to check out with her. I'm going to stay in my room though, and I'm just going to bring down the essentials when I'm ready to go. But thank you. Never really thought of the pay for the late checkout, but yeah, might do that. But yeah, hung out, took some photos in Ghost Rider, took a quick walk over to the South Building again. Sunday was a lot slower. I saw some people talking on the Facebook group about attendance. I think it was lower this year based on Thursday and Sunday. Saturday seemed to be stupidly busy as it always is. Friday, kind of the same. But Thursday and Sunday were a little lighter. So I don't know if that's everybody just came for Saturday and just skipped the other 2 days. I know Haley Steinfeld was there on Sunday. So I thought it'd be a little busier seeing as that was her only day. But I didn't see it. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, after that, I ended up ducking out around 1:30 in the afternoon. I wanted to beat the traffic home because it was crazy. Messiah said, God, not for us. We did Anchorman on Sunday and got mobbed. I know you got mobbed because I don't know you got mobbed. I assumed you got mobbed because that cosplay group's hilarious. I actually saw you guys walking under the bridge. I was in my car going to pick up my luggage and I was going to honk at you guys, but I didn't. Actually, it's funny. I saw Messiah every single day. I saw him. No, I don't know if I saw you on Thursday. I saw him Friday, saw him Saturday, and saw him on Sunday. Yeah, so I ducked out around 1:30 and headed home. On Sunday, man, there are times when I just wanted to. I really was debating on doing cosplay because I was just so bloody tired. But I knew if I came home and did not cosplay, I would have been pretty bummed at myself. But Ghost Rider is now going to become a permanent fixture in my cosplay. He will become, I don't know, I guess my main, I guess you would call it. Fun enough, it has been 24 hours since Fan Expo Canada, and that pile of clothes right there is my new closet cosplay that I will be bringing to London Comic-Con in the next couple weeks. I'm working on a new closet cosplay that I'm super excited. Only one person knows what that cosplay is because I told them about it earlier and they were super excited that I'm doing it. I'll tell you guys a little more later. But let's go over the final thoughts and get you guys out of here. The good of Fan Expo Canada. I gotta admit, the biggest part that I loved was the artist alley. And I know so many people had a problem with it. I didn't. And that's because I don't have mobility issues and stuff like that. But having so many more artists and having the opportunity for those artists to be seen on such a large scale, that was nice. And I bought a whole bunch more stuff than I usually do. So Artist Alley, I got to give that a thumbs up. I know, again, I'm in the minority probably, but I liked it. Having the major gaming brands back was nice. Having Nintendo have their own booth. Hopefully, PlayStation will have their own booth. Maybe Microsoft will have a booth. Maybe now that EB Games is under new ownership, maybe we'll get the EB booth back. I don't know. But having the major brand booths, especially like Nintendo, was really, really nice having that back. I heard a lot of people had fun at Paramount and Wednesday and all that stuff, but I just didn't do it. But I kind of like those booths. I really do. Actually, the best booth was the Nerds booth because they were giving out free nerd packets, which after walking around getting that little bit of sugar rush helps. And lastly, I know this is biased, but is the truth. All the cosplayers knocked out of the park. I saw so many dope cosplays this weekend, and I'm so glad I was able to get people on Instagram and followings back and forth because dude, you guys knocked it out of the park. Honestly, every single year I try and up my game, and there are cosplayers that I see that I know are rookies, and I'm like, I wasn't even close to that as that. I'm not even close to that now for how good you are. So, man, good job, guys. I cannot wait to see what you guys pull out next year. I know I've already heard some ideas that some cosplayers are going to be doing next year. And oh my God, I have to up my game because, man, they're really good. The bad, I only got 2 this year. The Masquerade is always a bummer for me. So that has got to be the number 1. And number 2, that X-Men 97 cast where it was placed, really bad. And I think it was Alex earlier in the chat said, that wasn't a Fan Expo call. That was whoever had purchased the booth space. And I get that. However, they had posted, I don't know what that booth told Fan Expo or what, but that was not the place to put them. And if I was Fan Expo, I would have tried to figure out another place to put them because that was just such a bottleneck area, even without them, that it just made it even worse. So I'm glad they were there. I'm glad Lunette was there with the big comfy couch and all that, but it was just a little too much all in that one space.